Major news has just dropped as reports have come out that Scottie Barnes has officially made the All-Star team. He's been selected as the replacement for, Julius Randle and Joel Embiid, himself and Trae Young. So we'll break down that report as well as a major update regarding Dennis Schroder, as apparently there's a team that's very interested in acquiring his services to bolster their point guard position. So lots of stuff to dive into in this vid, but before we do, folks, again, over 56% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, and you guys have been crushing it as of late, hitting that subscribe button, and, we want to deliver you all of the latest Toronto Raptors news. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a video. But let's dive in the first topic of discussion, because we have to celebrate, folks. We have to celebrate what just was announced after all the crazy reports, after all the madness saying, oh, Derek White might be selected over Scottie Barnes. Stinky Pinky might come out here. Heck, Miles Turner might be out here potentially getting this all-star selection. Scottie Barnes got it done. New report came out from Sham saying that Trae Young and Scottie Barnes have replaced Joel Embiid and Julius Randle in the NBA's Eastern Conference All-Star team. So this is great. This is an awesome thing to see. Again, I'm breaking out the balloons once again. Something to celebrate for this season, because again, it's going to be a rough sort of second half of the year, but it's nice to see Scottie Barnes, even after all the trash that's been talked about him over the past few days, after all the smack that's been talked about, oh, he doesn't care about this team and stuff and all that, Scottie Barnes is getting the credit he deserves. I mean, he's a guy this season averaging 20 points per game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 37% from the three-point line, 48% from the field. Is efficient, dramatically improved his three-point shooting this season, is a guy that's now taking on the brunt of all the defensive focus here now at this point. So again, it's a developing time for Scottie Barnes. It's a moment in time where, again, there's going to be some lows, there's going to be some highs, but I want to support this guy through and through. He's a young, sort of homegrown star that the Raptors, whether or not he'll actually reach it, but he has superstar potential. That's his potential. Will he actually get there? We'll see. We'll see how it all shakes out. His development curve has been weird after his sort of, flat line during his second season, the major jump he took in his third. Scottie Barnes is a guy that's really just had me excited to watch this Toronto Raptors team, even through all the midness that's been going on with this roster, with this core group. Scottie Barnes has been that sort of light, earning that Scottie Barnes award. It's been a little minute since we've delivered that award out there on this vid. So, Scottie Barnes, deservedly so, gets that all-star nod. So throw a W in the comment section. Give a congratulations to Scottie Barnes, because this is huge. And I'm pumped to watch him actually playing his first all-star game. Maybe recruit some people to the Toronto Raptors with some cap space that might get opened up this summer, as in our second sort of discussion in this vid, as we have a major Dennis Schroder trade update. So what's going on with Dennis Schroder? Because we've heard a lot of reports about Bruce Brown. We've heard a lot of reports coming out regarding different players on this roster, but Dennis Schroder is a guy that it's felt like not much has been said about whether or not he's available or not. Again, he's a veteran on this Toronto Raptors team, so does it make sense for him to be around for a rebuild? He has that tight relationship with Darko Rajakovic. Again, we do like that sort of depth he has. He's an amazing backup point guard in today's NBA. But news has basically come out that the Minnesota Timberwolves have Dennis Schroder and Kyle Lowry on their radar. Toronto's Dennis Schroder and Kyle Lowry, who was recently traded to the Miami Heat, from the Miami Heat to the Charlotte Hornets, and likely will be moving via trade or buyout, are two names to be on the radar. Finch coached Lowry for half a season in Toronto before he was hired to take over Minnesota. So two people, obviously one guy on the Toronto Raptors team, and one guy that's the greatest Toronto Raptor of all time, linked to the Minnesota Timberwolves. But right now, it's most relevant is Dennis Schroder, because again, the Raptors have a couple days ahead of this year's trade deadline to figure out where they're going to pivot, where they're going to move in terms of the future. And Schroder's a guy that's putting up really solid numbers for backup point guard in today's NBA. 14 points per game, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 34% from behind the three-point line, makes his free throws. Again, sometimes gets a little bit crazy, a little bit out of hand in terms of the pace of play, and then things get a little bit messy. A few turnovers happen and things like that. But again, defensively, he also brings it for you as well. Gets some steals, brings that energy, is efficient and things like that. So what could the Raptors get from the Minnesota Timberwolves in a potential trade package? And looking at the team, obviously the Timberwolves are one of the top teams in the Western Conference. They want to bolster their guard depth here now at this point. we're not getting Gobert, we're not getting Edwards, we're not getting Karl-Anthony Towns, and we're probably not getting Mike Conley or Jaden McDaniels, especially after the vid I just made on Jalen McDaniels and the memes there. That's a meme video as well, folks. Some people are taking that a little bit too seriously. But again, let's lock in on what's happening here with this team. Naz Reid is also a player that I know a lot of Toronto Raptor fans would want. He'd be a cool fit at the center position, but again, definitely not getting dealt away from Minnesota here now at this point. Even with his contract situation, even with everything along those lines, he just got extended by the Minnesota Timberwolves, but he has been a key piece into their sort of turnaround into the upper stratosphere in the Western Conference. So we're not getting Naz Reid. Nickeil Alexander-Walker is an interesting player, averaging 6 points per game this season. Not putting up crazy stats, but could be an interesting player to come back to the Toronto Raptors in a potential package. He's also on a smaller deal, $4 million per season. So, a guy with some potential, only 25 years old, can space the floors, Canadian, all those types of things. Maybe you bring him in and then you recruit Shea in the future. So that's one thing you could take a look at. But the player that I think is most likely, the most potential in terms of actually going down is probably a Kyle Anderson, who this season hasn't been doing too much for the Minnesota Timberwolves, who again are focused on improving the defensive end. This season hasn't been getting a crazy ton of minutes, 21 minutes, so still solid, but a lot of Minnesota fans aren't just that interested and would much rather a Dennis Schroder rather than a Kyle Anderson. Again, they're going all out. This is the best season in Timberwolves history since Kevin Garnett days, and they made the conference finals there. So they want to do everything they can to maximize this sort of year. Now, they don't have a lot of draft capital because they dealt away pretty well all of their picks in the Rudy Gobert trade. So you're probably not getting much in terms of value back for first. But if we get Kyle Anderson, we get an interesting player. Maybe you could flip again. Maybe you could do a 3-team deal. But cap-wise, we clear out a lot of cap space with Dennis Schroder, who would likely re-sign and pick up his contract for next season. So that's one thing that you sort of factor in with that. And the Raptors, again, talking about flexibility, talking about all these types of things, that's the move in terms of acquiring Kyle Anderson, really acquiring any Shake Milton, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Troy Brown Jr. Again, not the greatest of players. Again, Jaden McDaniels is elite, but no one that's really a great fit. I'm not too familiar with their deep bench rookie players, Leonard Miller or Josh Minute, but this would be sort of a salary dump move for the Toronto Raptors to gain flexibility to have more cap space for this offseason. Now, is that the right move for a developing team? I think if we're trading Schroder, we should get some draft compensation. He's good enough to net us back at least a couple seconds, like at bare minimum, some good seconds, if not a first, the way he sort of played this year. So that's one thing I'd factor in, but news has also come out, in regards from Ryan Woltz that basically said, given his strong relationship with Rajakovic and his ability to click with his teammates, it's hard to see Dennis Schroder being traded on Thursday. Maybe in the offseason when he has a reasonable $13 million left on his contract, but now, especially when he chose to sign in Toronto, something very few solid players have chosen to do via free agency, it's unlikely it's going to get dealt at this year's trade deadline. So take all that with what you will. The Timberwolves, if they could blow us away with offer, if we get Naz Reid or something, you take that deal in a hurry, in a minute. He could be our starting center. We have Jakob Poeltl, but I digress. Young player with a lot of potential. Naz Reid would be a cool piece, but I don't know. Schroder, we'll see what happens with his future. Lots of crazy news has been coming out left, right, and center. And frankly, I have a video scheduled, but the Scottie Barnes news came out right away. So this is jumping the line. I have a video on D'Angelo Russell coming in the next few hours as well. But you guys have been listening this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Keep it locked to the Raptors Digest because we got vids coming out left, right, and center, covering all the latest on this year's trade deadline. I'm signing out. Cheers.